All right. For the audience that doesn't know you, feel free to introduce yourself.
So I go by Npc.abood on social media. I'm 20 years old. I do quote content on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat. I post quotes that many find a little controversial, but there's a humorous side to those. I live in Houston, Texas. Got over 500,000 on TikTok, almost 100K on Insta, and over 200K on Snapchat.
Nice, man. So, I actually checked out your Instagram profile, which you follow me on very nicely. And on your Instagram profile, you're followed by Evan Cronin, right?
Yeah.
So, by your smile, I'm assuming you've spoken to him before.
Well, I've known Evan for a while, almost a year now. He was getting started on Instagram. I already knew, I already liked his content on TikTok. So back in the day, I was, helping him, not helping him grow, but kind of, making a connection on Instagram, telling him to, stay consistent with his posting, and yeah, I've known him since the early days of his Instagram, and he's booming now.
I mean, that's dope because with Evan has like 2 million now. He's like, yeah, he's like 1 million now. I mean, I've never spoken to the guy, but he's doing well though. So I'm glad that you had a hand in that. And I was checking on some of your other videos. You have like 20 million views. Sorry, it's playing right now. You probably hear it, but there's like 20 million views on one of them, like 1.5 million likes. Another has like 40 million views. I think I'm gonna check the exact numbers. Yeah, 20 million, 12 million, and 19 million. Right. So like, how does that look? Right? How does that success look? So like, a lot of these other videos, you got like decent views, like 21,000, 7,000, kind of like my numbers. And then you get ones that are like 20 million. That's a substantial difference. So like, what does that look like on your end?
So obviously when I was starting, I faced some difficulty with going viral. But it just took more time, as you keep posting. You start having to mute those notifications, and it goes viral over the course of a few weeks. It's not really like, boom, I posted and now I have like 300,000 likes. It will be like, okay, I posted and the first day I'll have maybe 15,000 likes, and then I'll be like, okay, it has viral potential. Because if it gets a lot of likes in the first day, then it's just gonna be fed in the algorithm more and more, and it just keeps going on for a few weeks. But as for how it looks, I mean, just knowing your content's being pushed out there, it's just a great feeling. 20 million views is actually insane. But yeah, it's.
Well, what's interesting too is you don't even show your face like in any of these, right? So like, you're kind of you're like for the most part a pretty faceless creator, right? Because like this is the first time I'm actually seeing you, like even on your Snap stories and stuff. It's not really you. It's more like what you're putting out. So what's that like? Almost like having like a secret meme account or multiple secret meme accounts.
So yeah, it's kind of that way. I mean, I used to show my face every now and then, but that was like back in maybe May. But I mean, I like the idea of having like a secret little, controversial page. It just gives an idea of anybody can do this. Anybody can go viral. I mean, I've motivated a lot of similar creators who don't show their face, because the idea of social media is that once you make content that people want to see, it doesn't matter how you push that content.
In what sense? What do you mean, like how you push it?
So basically, how you feed it to the audience. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm so kind of lost. So you're saying, the content versus how you push it. So like what, like give me like an example, give me like a concrete here.
Okay. So say, for example, I thought of, a funny controversial quote, right? Instead of, for example, me recording myself and saying like what the quote is, right? I could just write it on I could just write it on the screen, because on social media, like, let's be real, like a lot of people have very short attention span, right? They're just scrolling. They just need like the first few letters. If it's engaging, they'll stay on the video. If not, they're gonna scroll, right? So having to alter that thought, the thought of the quote, and making it to where people won't scroll. Uh, I've been doing that for a couple of years now, and it's just once like I'm making my video, right? Like I try to make the background interesting as well. So in some of my videos, like I'll have my car in the video, my friend's car in the video. Sometimes I'll find a Lamborghini and just record, and it's just I'm trying to make a nice cool vibe in the background as well, so that people are seeing the quote itself and the background.
In one day, how many messages are we getting?
Sorry,
In one day, how many messages are you like getting?
how many masses?
Messages.
Messages. So on TikTok, about like 7 or 8 messages. On Instagram, probably a little more, because Instagram, it's much easier to actually DM people. I'd say around 20 mark. Snapchat, I get like maybe 20 replies on my story, because Snapchat, you can't really DM the creator.
So why me? Why do my show?
Uh, well, I go through the story replies, and if it's something interesting, I'll add the user back, talk to them about it. I mean, I like connecting with my with my fans, and if it's like a potential opportunity, I'm more than happy to to connect. I mean, this was a great opportunity right here, so that's why I replied to you on Snapchat. Usually on Snapchat, though, I don't really check my notifications on. It's like usually every 2 to 3 days. So you actually caught me in a good time when you messaged. But yeah.
Well, I'm glad that we have you on. And going from there. So when you're running an account with like, because you're running 3 different accounts. One is on Instagram with about 95,000 right now. And I actually want to ask you about that real quick, because on your Snapchat it says 100K plus, but then when I visit it's like 94K, and then today it's 95K.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So what happened was, on Instagram, once they migrated to, well, like it was Instagram before, right? Once it was bought out by Meta, right? The rules started getting more strict. And when that happened in 2024 alone, I got like my account was banned from posting 6 times, with the latest one being from June 3rd all the way till early August. And because of that, like the 2 month stretch, I was not able to post on either my feed or the stories. So I lost a lot of followers.
Right.
I just haven't updated the Snapchat, which I wish I should soon.
Yeah, no, I was just curious because I'm like, because you just went up in like 1,000 followers very recently. So I'm like, oh, like you went up in like 1,000, and then, like I assumed you went down because you said 100K plus. So it was just fine. Why were you banned on Instagram for posting?
So some of my posts, like I said, they're quite controversial, and because sometimes it might get a little political. I try not to keep it political, but if it is just a tiny bit political, like that's what happens. It could get me banned from posting. They don't ban the account because it's not like a repeat offense, but if it's like something that's like, if I violate a new rule, they'll temp ban me. But if I violate the same rule, it will be like more serious.
So now let's talk about like an example here, right? So like Master Oogway is like a famous example of someone who like took controversial content to its extreme, and like it kind of backfired on him because
Yeah.
everybody memes him now as like, oh, haha Hitler. Like that's his whole, he went from like making a joke where he would say like it would be really creative and he would do the Uguay voice, and then it turned into like, you know, racism funny. Like it would just be, and it kind of like destroyed him. So, the problem with controversial content is that it has to remain shocking, right?
Yes.
Just like, shocking enough to where it's still in good taste, though,
Hmm.
right? Because you can't just like, I mean, I guess you could, you can make a really controversial joke, but it has to remain for the most part in good taste. Usually, some people don't abide by that, and yours for the most part does seem to follow that. But how do you kind of like teeter that between like something that's like way too far and something that is that is like, too innocent, like, and it's not really funny.
Okay. So with Master Oogway, right? He started out with different kinds of taking it too far. Like some of his jokes were funny, right? But then they started getting into like actual racism and then actually saying certain slurs on his song, right? So that transition went way too far, right? Um and what I'm doing, right? Like the way I would describe it is just creating like creating a thought in my head where be like, ooh, okay, two different sides would disagree, right? Because if we take a look at one of my examples, right, that went really viral, it was if I make you breakfast in bed, just say thank you. I don't want to hear how did you get in how did you get in my house, right? So looking at it from two sides, right? One side would be like, oh, that's not funny. Oh, you're breaking into people's houses, just for whatever, right? And then the other side is like, okay, that's actually funny, right? So I try to keep a balance in between what people would find funny and what people would disagree with if they take it the literal way, right? Uh, but overall, it's like I try not to come across as, you know, on one side of a political political side, because that's not what my page is for, right? Like I'm just purely here to spread humor. uh so yeah.
Right. So like with your content, why did you even start the page? Like what was the motivation? What made you get out of bed one day and be like, I need to start the page? From the way that you're smiling, it's probably an interesting story.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty interesting story, right? So what happened was, right, I was scrolling on my feed on TikTok, and this was in like 2022, early 2022, and somebody who used to make pretty similar content but just a little bit further, like a little further down the, you know where is too far, right? He was making that kind of content, and he was going really viral. And I was always commenting on his videos with with laughing and all that stuff. And then just one day I was like, okay, he's going viral, why can't I, right? Which was pretty interesting because when I started posting, I actually started posting with my face, right? Like the same way he was doing it. But it took me 3 months to get my first viral video on TikTok, with my face in it. And it got to about 4.5 million views. But after that, like nothing seemed to work, right? It's been like a 2 month stretch and I just couldn't get a single video to do well, right? So then I saw somebody else. He was posting those depression quotes, I guess you could say. But with him like walking around the same way I'm doing it right now, right? But he was posting those depression quotes like that. Like, okay, this is not working the way I wanted it to. Let me try this, right? And I know that nothing, like nothing grows in a second, right? So I spent the 2 months after my first viral video, and I couldn't get another one viral with my face in it. So then I was like, okay, I'm gonna dedicate the same amount of time with the walking videos and seeing how they do. And the rest is history. I mean, literally 3 days into it, just posting consistently, and one of the videos just got like 8 million views. I was like, wow, okay. So that's where it started.
Well, my question has always been like when you get like those hyper successful videos, because I've
Mhm,
had videos do pretty well, right? Like as not like 8 million views yet,
mhm.
but with that being said, though, what does it look like on your end where you're getting like a video with 8 million, 20 million, 19 million views? Like on your end, are you like flooded with DMs? Are you flooded with comments? Like I can only imagine the notifications that you're getting, right, on a video
Mhm.
like that. So on your end, is this kind of like a shocking thing where you pick up your phone and it's like a million notifications? Like that's how I would envision it. Like it's kind of like a really shocking thing. I would imagine like my phone would freeze at that point, right?
Right. So what I did, as soon as I got to like maybe 3,000, 4,000 followers on like all the socials, I muted every single notification because I knew like it was gonna start flooding at one point. And from what I was doing, like I always had like message requests and stuff pop up. Even when I wasn't going that viral, like there would still be some. But once like I had my really high area, right, of posting, man, I couldn't even check my phone during those times. I just post and just close my phone because it's like 99 messages every single day in the message requests, and I'm like, whoa, I don't have time to check every single one of them. Uh, but yeah, it's like there was always so much notifications. It's like when you go on Instagram and you have those notifications tab, it's like it would be like 100 likes, 100 comments, 100 follows. If I refreshed every 3 minutes, those hundreds would just regenerate like during the high area. Right now, it's a little slower, but I'm just trying to get back to the peak era.
Well, so my next question is with Snapchat, right? Because you know, Snapchat's a weird thing, like because when somebody has like 100,000 followers on Instagram, like followers don't translate. That's another thing about fame that I find very interesting in internet clout. Like followers don't translate the same on each platform. 100K on TikTok, most people would think is like, oh, 100K on Instagram. No, no, no. It's very different. That's like 100K on TikTok is like 10K on Instagram.
Mhm.
And like I would say YouTube followers are the most valuable, I would say.
Yes.
I would say YouTube, like, would you agree? You agree with me in saying that? Like, what
Yeah.
what what would you say is the most valuable?
Honestly, YouTube, because it's very, very hard to grow on the shorts algorithm, and to actually spend time making those long form videos, like it definitely requires more effort. So I would say that because YouTube is pushing more long form content than YouTube Shorts at the moment, even though YouTube Shorts is growing, it's just much, much harder to actually get into the algorithm. Uh, and the reason for that is I did a little experiment, and it turns out that for YouTube videos to get pushed, they need to get shared. So if you're getting likes and comments but no shares, the video won't get pushed to the next wave of the algorithm. But the problem with that is there's no friend system on YouTube Shorts. So who would they be sharing it to? So now if you go to YouTube Shorts, you'll find a lot of clickbaity content. It'll be like, oh, for this Fortnite skin, like for this one, comment for that one, copy a link for this one, do all for the better one, right? So that's pretty much what YouTube Shorts is right now. And until they find a way to get a friends list into YouTube, it's very, very hard to grow organically on there without translating your existing followers from the other social media channels.
Well, YouTube's more like a TV show. I've realized, like, it's more like a broadcast than it is like a Instagram, which is like a mix between a personal page and like but it's personal. Instagram's a little bit more personal than YouTube. Like if you have I'm sorry, I'm trying to adjust my laptop, but I was gonna say when it comes to the least valuable, I think TikTok followers are the least valuable. I think that's not a crazy thing to say.
Mhm.
And you're shaking your head, so I would assume so. You agree in that?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
okay. They're the least valuable. Snapchat followers, though. Okay, Instagram followers, I would say like a second to YouTube. I would also like to add because they're very valuable. I don't want to say they're tied. If in some cases they're even more valuable because if you have like 10 million followers on Instagram, that means like you're either like a megastar or like some guy in some other country I've never heard of, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of the same with YouTube. So Instagram and YouTube are kind of interchangeable, but they're around that same spot. YouTube, I think, is the most valuable. But Snapchat is like it never correlates. Like I've met people that have like 14,000 on Snapchat and then they'll have like 2 million on Instagram. And I'm like, what?
Mhm.
Like how? Like their Snapchat is in their bio. Other times I've seen people that have gone like viral many times on my feed that I don't even follow. That'll have like only 70K on not even Instagram, sorry, Snapchat. I'm like, what? Like, so on your end, why is that happening? And what does that look like, that difference?
So Snapchat is a little more confusing because the way that people can get followers, it's not just with posting the same videos that you'd see on your Instagram feed, right? You know how Instagram has an explore page, which it basically gets your interests and it starts showing you stuff from your interests. The way Snapchat works is when somebody with some followers, right, posts on his story, it will take that story and show it to his followers, his or her followers. And then from there, based on how much they either screenshot or share the story, it will start getting into a similar idea of an explore page. But from there, it just gets tested again. It's like from whoever's seeing it on their, explore side, it also takes into account how many screenshots, shares, replies as well, and then it just keeps getting pushed more and more and more. So on average, I'm getting around maybe 10,000 views a story, but some of the really good ones, yeah, they can go up to like 300, 400,000. But that was a little earlier in back in the day.
Well, Snapchat is like way more personal than any of those other platforms, right? Well, like it's
100.
in like if YouTube is like the least personal on the opposite end of the spectrum because YouTube used to have a DM feature. Did they? I feel like they did. I feel like I've heard that they had. Either way, they don't have one. Right, number
Mhm,
one. Number two, um, you know, YouTube. The most that you can do to get in contact with a creator, other than look for the email, which most people don't know is in the about section. But other than that, you can only comment right? So
mhm,
you can maybe at them, you can maybe comment, but there's really no way to get in contact with that creator if they haven't had any of their socials posted.
mhm,
But then you get like the reverse end of it, which is Snapchat, where you can message anybody. There's no spam filter, right? There's
mhm.
zero spam filter, so you could send out. That's why there's so many bots on Snapchat. So you can send out like a million. I mean, there's like some like I think I got like one time I got banned because of adding like too many people,
Mhm.
right? And I was like just mass snapping people, but that was, whatever. But like with that being said though, you know, it's like insanely personal, right? Instagram has a lot of filters on spam, right? So it's very hard. I mean, you can, but those accounts get banned all the time, right?
Yeah.
Snapchat, those accounts never get banned. It's very easy to message you. I could just, if you have a public profile like you do, it's very easy to message you and reach out to you. And it's also very easy to check those notifications. Then, meanwhile, you get TikTok, which also has spam filters and is a little bit more like Instagram.
Mhm.
So, I do wonder though. This is completely unrelated to this, but now this is actually just my next question, which is when you're producing these videos, what are you doing? Are you like just going for a walk? Like,
So what I do is because I go out a lot, if I see something cool, I'll record at the time, right? And I like amassed over maybe 700 of those videos. So it's like every time I'm outside and I see something cool, I'll record. When I'm here at home, or if I'm outside and I want to post, I just go to the existing videos and I put it on the TikTok app, put my text over it, and I'll just post it directly to TikTok. And from there, I download the video. There's a lot of videos where you can download TikTok videos. So what I do is I just download the video and then just post it on all the other platforms.
So, from your experience, when you have like this kind of internet fame, like semi-internet fame, um, my question is like, do you ever get like really weird messages? Like, do you ever get like you're shaking your head? Like, and when I say weird, that's really vague. So the fact that you know exactly kind of what I'm talking about, like, tell me what you think I'm talking about.
All right, so there's a whole spectrum of the type of messages you get. Like you sometimes get collab messages, sometimes you'll get like, oh, like I'm a big fan, but whatever. I really appreciate everyone who's reaching out to me. Even if they're showing support, whether they want to collab. But they're at the other end of the spectrum. It's like, okay, so sometimes you'll have like people trying to advertise certain kind of pages. OF model pages, for example. You'll have some kind of people trying to, those bots that try to like get you to reply so that they can start sending explicit messages.
Yes. So then you
Yeah,
can hopefully send your nudes, and then they can do whatever. That's usually what their scheme is. But yeah, I know
yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
Those are a lot more common on an account that has a lot of followers than it would be on a personal account, right? Because if I'm on my personal account, I have a private account. I get that maybe one time every 6 months, but on like on my Npc.abood accounts, like I get that maybe every other day. But I already know the type of message that comes up like that, so I don't even open it. But that's not even like the worst part. It's like some people just message, try to like saying you know just hating, right? They'll just be like kill yourself, and then they'll start throwing hella slurs at you. Because like I said, my content is controversial, so people from that side will start hating. Uh, I used to post those screenshots on my story, but I stopped doing that because they started taking it down because I didn't hide the username back back then. But it was just funny. It's like I used to take those comments to heart, but right now it's like I couldn't care less, right? It's like they're just hating.
So yeah. No, no,
Yeah,
go on, go on, go on. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, and then like the last part of that spectrum would be just people trying to like, I don't know. It's like those people that trying to like dox you. It,
Yeah.
it, it happens like once a week, but I kind of recognized how they do that, so like it's
Well, what's that look
I
like?
got used to it.
What's that
Mhm.
look like on your end? That's it.
So they'll Yeah, so this one time someone actually found the location of where I filmed the video, and they were like, "Oh, like is this your address?" Like obviously that's a little alarming, but obviously I didn't reply to that message, but and then other times they'll be like, "Yo," they'll just literally just message "yo," right? And then when you reply, they'll be like, "Yo, like uh my Insta got hacked. Just be careful of said person, right?" uh and then they'll send you like a little link there, but I know what a grabifier is because I spent a lot of time growing up online. So I kind of realize that those links are fishy, and the fact that when someone is has little followers and they're following you, right, they come up in your search list in the create a message. So when people get hacked, the hackers will try to get more people you know to get their accounts, and that's what happens a lot. But if I just see a yo with nothing else, I just ignore it.
So, on your end, like, how do you choose? So now, like, outside of scams, like, how are you choosing who you're going to message to? Because I'm not getting 100 messages a day. I'm getting a couple. I'm getting a few. I don't even run that big of an account. I have like 700. Sorry, not 700,000. I wish 700 followers. And then on Snapchat, I don't use Snapchat, other than this, but like my YouTube is only 500 subscribers. So, how are you choosing your time this wisely? Like who sets who apart, right? When you're a person of, fame, semi-fame, hundreds of thousands of followers.
So what I do in terms of like replying to messages, like I try to reply to everyone who's like showing support, or if there's like a potential opportunity. But outside of that, like the chance I'll actually reply to that is like maybe 20%. It's like if I'm low on messages in a specific day, then I'll probably reply to that as well. If someone has a question, usually.
What about email? Like how does your email look? Because I've had people on the show that like I've had to follow up with, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I get so much garbage because they have an account with like 200,000 followers on it."
So my email, I check it twice a day. I get around like 50 emails. So the way I kind of filter through it is through, if I see a email that's not really generic, because a lot of the emails they send them like to multiple creators at the same time, right? So if I see something with Abood in the in the email, then I actually look at it, and if it's something interesting, I'll reply to it as well. Uh, but there's a lot of like generic emails that creators get, and I know this because some people forget to send them individually, or like put the creators in BCC, which basically hides the other people. So this a couple of times, I've seen Evan, Piero, and many other creators all in the same message box, and we all got the same email, and we kind of had a laugh about it. But yeah, that's how I filter through my emails.
What do you think the biggest lesson that you've learned is in all of this? Like, if there's one lesson, either living the life that you've led or running all these accounts, like what do you think they would be? And those are, I guess, two separate questions, both of which you can answer.
Right. I would say the biggest lesson is, just because you're popping off on one platform and the others aren't doing as well, stay consistent on all of them. Because when I went through my TikTok growth, right? Uh, I had like 200,000, and then in 2 months I went all the way up to 500,000. Like that era was absolutely insane. But during that era, I wasn't posting on Instagram, and that was prior to all the bans, right? So my views weren't as good. After I tried to stay consistent after the, I guess, the fall off era of TikTok. Um, but honestly, it's like just consistency. Just stay at that same consistency every single day. It's got to be a part of the routine, right? There's no days off. Stay consistent. You know, you're working towards a specific goal. You got to work hard every day. That's what it is. What was the other question?
Just like, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned having lived the life that you've led?
Right. So I know you probably won't believe me if I tell you this, but this is actually my side hustle. This is not my main occupancy, right? I'm a software engineer, and I code, but that's how I the make my living possible, right? Uh, but the way I live my life, honestly, like I don't think of myself as someone who is famous. I try to stay humble as much as possible. Um, and honestly, yeah, it's just the repetition of what I need to do every single day, between my job, between social media, between going to the gym, all of that stuff. And just keeping myself accountable for any mistakes that I make. Right, that goes a long way.
All right. For the last question, I'm going to ask you, and then we're going to talk after the show.
Mhm.
What advice do you have for young people?
Sorry, what?
What advice do you have for young people? Sorry, my mic is terrible.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, so my advice for young people is discipline. That's the most important thing a young man should have, a young man, a young woman, just holding yourself accountable for every little thing that goes on in life, right? So, say, for example, someone in middle school is at school, right? And, one of their friends says, hey, let's skip class today, right? The, Obviously, the kid will be leaning towards skipping class, right? But it's just having that discipline that says my education is going to go a long way. Or, for example, for me, since I'm posting, right, my posting will go a long way. A lot of people that have gotten inspired from me are actually around 14 to 15, and I give them the same advice. It's like, just because it's not doing well doesn't mean it won't do well, and that's the same advice I would give to any young person, because life life is like this, right? I like this, and this is a quote I stole from from one of my favorite shows, Suits. But it really makes sense in a way that you got to hold yourself to a higher level of standards, and you just have to keep working until you make that happen. And once that happens, there's always a next goal, always a next goal. So it's just stay disciplined, work hard, and don't let haters get in your way, because every step of the way there will be some sort of hate, whether it's from like second cousins, whether it's from like people at school, whether it's you know through DMs. There's always going to be some sort of people trying to hate and stop you from doing what you do, right? And there's the same kind of backlash. I mean, it happens to athletes all the time, right? Say, I don't know, the Giants are playing the Steelers, right? Obviously, if someone like makes a mistake during the game, he gets so much hate on their next post or in their DMs. But it's the fact that you're holding yourself to the highest level you can be, and mistakes happen all the time. But it's just a point of how to recover from those mistakes, and just keep pushing yourself higher and higher.
All right. I think that's a good place to end off. All right. Any final words to the audience?
Well, I mean, follow my boy George and follow me as well. Get him to 1K on Instagram
Soon. Soon. We'll hit it soon.
soon. Yeah.
All right. Have a good one, everybody. All right. I'm going to end this now, and we'll talk out of the show in 3, 2, 1. And